If I'm a drug addict and I'm using crack cocaine, I know crack cocaine is killing me, brother. I know it's no good for me. But you coming into my house, taking away my crack, flushing it down the toilet, you know what that's going to do? That's going to make me kill you. Now, you're doing it because you love me. I'm your brother. And you see I'm doing nothing but carrying myself to an early grave. But I'm sick, brother. So if you come in my house and take away my crack pipe and take away my drugs, I will kill you. Because this drug is the only way I'm able to get by. I do not have the discipline, the dedication, the control, or the willingness, the willpower to face my pain and fix my life. The only reason why I'm on the drugs in the first place is because I have unresolved personal issues that I don't have the dedication to fix. You can't make me do something I don't want to do, just like you can't take reliable information about a race traitor and give it to black people. They don't want the truth. A definition of mental illness, a traditional definition of mental illness, is a total dislocation from reality. Mentally ill people don't want the truth. They're trying to get away from it. They know this, but they don't care. They love living in an imaginary world because as long as they accept the lies as truth, they never got to get off their ass and do anything. You don't have to roll up your sleeves. You ain't got to think. You ain't got to come out and work. You ain't got to build no institution. Any ideology of Garveyism. Hell no, I want you to go to work. Which is why it is so difficult for us to get people to join and stick with our organization. Why does a Negro who suffers from racial inferiority disease want to join an organization that's telling him the only way he's going to fix his problem is to work? Think about that now. You're dealing with mentally sick people who like to believe in lies. They don't want the truth because the truth is painful, and the truth requires that they act. Remember, good brother, knowledge comes with responsibility. Once you now have a responsibility to do. Black people don't want to do a damn thing, so they would rather not know. If you tell me the schools are not going to teach my kids, and I know this to be a fact, now I got to teach them myself. I don't want to do that. So I would rather believe what the school is telling me, because knowledge brings with it a responsibility, an obligation that black people don't want. Slaves don't want responsibility. So if you keep trying to make an unconscious people conscious before they are ready to be conscious, they will kill you.
We might speak Igbo, or we might speak the Yoruba language, or we might speak Hausa, or we might speak Swahili, or Tweet, or Zulu, but we all African. We might be Muslim, we might be Christian, we might be Jehovah's Witness, we might be Seventh-day Adventist, but we all African. Some of us are educated, some of us are not, but we all African. Now, if you don't believe me, then listen to what the Europeans have to say. Zbigniew Brzezinski, founder of the Trilateral Commission for the Rockefellers, in 1973. This is President Obama's mentor. What did he say about Pan-Africanism? On national television, he said, and I'm paraphrasing, that basically there was only one threat to the global world order: permanent European dominance. He said that is a significant economic and political relationship between Africans on the continent and those in America. He said if we allow African Americans to link up meaningfully with Africans on the continent, that could shake our permanent control of the international order. So it's important that we take our education and our money and link it to the resources in Africa. Very important that we do that. Why is Africa in the condition that she's in? Africa is in the condition that she's in because after the independence struggle, right at the end of the independence struggles, what happened? Many of the leaders were killed or imprisoned or compromised or whatever the situation was when you look at it nationally. Now we look at Zeke the Great, he was able to overcome a lot of that, but when you look at other countries, that wasn't so. And so what happened was the colonial powers was able to do what? Sit down and sign agreements with leaders who they put in charge. And so after all that fighting, after all that struggle, the European left the continent, but still in control of the economics. The issue with Africa is what? Those structural adjustment programs of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. That's what keeps Africa in the condition that she's in. So Nigeria or Ghana or Malawi or the Congo needs to borrow money. In order to borrow that money, the United States says what? You can borrow it, but we're going to charge you 500% interest on that money. And in addition to taking this money, you're going to have to do what? Open up your economy to international trade, free trade. So that's why we got to teach our children economic science. How do we take back the chicken market? Economic science. How do we get the oil out of Africa ourselves and use it for the benefit of Africa's people? Isn't it amazing that Africa is the richest continent, but the people have the lowest per capita income? White supremacy. And if you don't understand white supremacy, you won't understand anything else you see. It'll confuse you. Thank you. Because you fail to recognize the invisible hand. The invisible hand. And we got to teach our children about white supremacy, not to hate nobody. Don't confuse white supremacy instruction with hating white people. I believe that hatred is too great of a burden to bear. I think it's a negative emotion that kills the person who carries it more than the person they hold it for. So I don't believe in teaching him to hate Europeans. But I want him to understand the way they think. I want him to understand the way they act. I want him to understand the way that they function. So as far as they're concerned, they can all get a pill. Let me ask you a question. What does Ritalin, Concerta, Cyclert, Strattera, I believe also goes in that category. What do they have in common with crack cocaine and opium? You know what they all have in common? They are all listed by the Drug Enforcement Agency of the United States as a Schedule II drug. That means it's one of the most addictive drugs you can take, and the abuse potential is one of the highest in the country. And this is what you give your son every day so he can sit still long enough to be miseducated. Shame on you, not the child. Not the child. And what I'm finding, a lot of us like the excuse that comes with a diagnosis. See, we like stuff like conduct disorder. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. Let me give you one for example. Here's oppositional defiant disorder, ODD. So you got ADHD, you got CD, you got ODD. Let's talk about ODD. What's the symptoms? Loses his temper, argues with adults, doesn't follow rules, deliberately annoys people, blames others for his mistakes, is touchy or easily annoyed, is angry and resentful, is spiteful or vindictive. That's half the black people I know. But let's go a little bit further. Does that sound like an illness to you? Or just a mindset? Or just a mood state? That's not, would you give somebody medicine for that? Has stolen items, stays out at night, runs away from home. Does that sound like an illness to you? That sounds like a boy who needs his behind spanked. You don't need no drug for this. See, boys who grow up with strong men in their life, you don't catch these diseases. My father was a drill instructor for the United States Marine Corps. Paris Island, South Carolina, the big hat. Do you think I can catch this? Daddy, I think I got ADHD. Really? No pills, no medicine, no eval, no nothing. Good old-fashioned leather solved everything. So I'm telling you, parents, you got to get your common sense back. Medical neglect. This is why I tell y'all to be careful about putting your children on drugs and be careful about getting them tested. Because once I label your child
and say he's ADHD, once I say he got an emotional disturbance, I have just created the groundwork for what? For Child Protective Services to force you to medicate that child. People call me every day. Should I get my son tested for ADHD? Should I get my son tested for conduct disorder? Should I get my son tested for oppositional defiance? Do you believe in crack for kids? Because if you don't believe in drugging children, why in the hell would you get them labeled in the first place? Is this making sense to y'all? Yes. Stay away from the label unless you want the medication. Because if you tell those people that you're not giving your son drugs, even though he got a label, you know what they're going to do? They're going to write you up, come to your house, and say, listen, your son got a medical problem, ADHD, and a psychiatrist wrote a prescription for some Strattera, and you are refusing to medicate. If you don't start medicating, we're going to take your son out of your house. Not only are we going to take him, we're going to take all the children. The #1 reason for removal of black children in 2012 has been black parents who have failed to medicate their children. Stay away from ADHD. Stay away from conduct disorder. Stay away from special ed unless you're certain your child got a problem. If your kid is blind, they need special ed. They're blind. They need visual support. If your child is deaf, they special ed. They need hearing support. They can't hear. If your child got a speech and language impairment, they stuttering all over the place. They need speech therapy. That's legitimate. Your child is autistic. They need autistic support. Those are real special ed disorders. But the learning disability, ADHD, emotional disturbance, mild mental retardation, those 4 are man-made hustles. You cannot prove a learning disability. And anybody who think they can, prove it to me. I test children for a living. You cannot prove a learning disability. A learning disability is nothing more than a professional opinion that the evaluator made about your child's ability. There's no test to tell you if your child is learning disabled. If it is, show it to me. I have standardized the WIS 4. I was a part of the team that made that IQ test what it is. I was a part of the team that standardized the WIAT 2. I know what I'm talking about. You say you can prove your child is learning disability? Then show me. You can prove there's a test that shows the child can't learn? Prove it. I got $1 million for you. And I ain't got $1 million because I know you ain't gonna get it, okay?
Educators that are now teachers, they have them fired and they push. In fact, they did that in Washington, D.C. That Commissioner came in, she pushed all the black educators out.
And brought in the Teach for America.
Exactly.
And do y'all know what that is? In America, we have emergency teacher certification programs. Yeah. Stay with me. Yeah. Brooklyn has 500 teacher vacancies. I'm in charge of Teach for America. So I'm going to go around and find a bunch of white people with bachelor's degrees who are not certified to teach, but they have a bachelor's degree. And I'm going to bring them into the Brooklyn schools and give them emergency cert. Emergency cert to teach in the school. But then you got all y'all got certifications. Y'all black. Y'all want to work in y'all hood, right? They said we can't do that because we have a contract with Teach for America for 200 spots. And y'all saying, but we certified. We certified. I got a teacher cert. They say it don't matter. We have a contract with Teach for America. And so guess what? Instead of the job going to the most qualified black, it goes to an unqualified white. This is happening all across America. Y'all see them young kids coming in there, no certification, wanting to help the young blacks in the ghetto. Okay, getting their loans paid off in the process. Yes, it's a racket. Public education is a racket. And that's why we got to build our own schools, because you ain't going to get them to change the color of America's teaching pool. Okay? And we got to understand that. And that don't mean every white woman don't want to teach the black chick, because I see them, oh my God. No, we're not saying that. Okay? But we're just saying that our children need to be taught by our own. You understand that. Okay, so why did you bring me here? Y'all got me. Oh, you brought him. Is there